They say opposites attract.
Well, how about these opposites? Daddies and sons.
You're listening to Daddy and Son.
A podcast where we explore the dynamics of daddy and son relationships, multi-generational views,
And everything else in between.
Welcome to the very first episode of Daddy and Son. My name is Alex, and
I'm Norm.
welcome, listeners, to this show. This podcast, in case you didn't know, it's an audio show. Before our first episode, Norm decided that we should talk about
Why we're doing this in the first place?
Yes, but there was more to it.
Well, I think what it is that we're wondering, what is it that attracts older to younger and younger to older men?
Well, I have different thoughts on this, but, I'm going to let you share yours first, and then I will go afterwards, because it will be awkward if I lead with my opinion, which may be a very unpopular opinion.
Well, there are no unpopular opinions here. Everybody has a type, let's face it. Most people don't like, most younger people are not into older people, let's face it, right? And
Okay, let me just pause you right there. If
All right.
younger people aren't into older people, then why does daddy and son as a relationship exist?
because, surprisingly, as I get older, I thought there would be nobody out there for me. You know what? The opposite is true. There are a lot of younger men who I'm finding are interested in older men, more mature men. For
Exactly. So
various
you
different
contradicted
reasons.
yourself, though. You just contradicted
I
yourself.
did I?
Yes.
How so?
You just said younger men aren't into older men.
Well,
but then
a lot of younger men are not, but there are some who are. And as an older person, I'm finding there are actually a lot of younger men, still a minority of who's out there, but there's still, well, there's enough out there to choose from. Let's put it that way.
Well, maybe that's what makes this niche. Maybe that's what makes. I don't even want to say it's just a niche. And I don't want to say it's a.
An affectation?
I was going to say a fetish.
Well, it's a type. Everybody has a type, as I said a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a fetish. It wouldn't be a fantasy. It would just be a type. And I was thinking about it from the perspective, because like 90% of my relationships have been with elder men. Well, I'm gonna say elder men. That makes them sound like their grandfathers. Maybe you are.
Be careful. I may be 70.
But you do look 50.
Thank you.
But you do look 50. 55 most. Which is honest to God truth, listeners. But I'm gonna let me put it this way. Because most of my relationships, romantically, have been with guys who are at least 10 years older than me. You remember Eli, like he was literally 10 years older than me. I lost my virginity to this is something that most people in my life know, that I lost my virginity to my French professor, who was way older than I was.
And probably spoke French a lot better than you did as well.
Stop. And I've just always ended up being in a relationship with older people, but I don't know if that's something that is a type for me, or it's I am more stimulated by being around older men. It's like,
Is there something about a mature person that interests you and challenges you that you don't get from someone your own age or younger.
Well, that's part of it,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
One, I want to be I want to be challenged because I don't. A lot of people think that when they think of daddy and son relationships, they tend to think of, oh, a younger person who is looking to an older person for guidance, or they had some thing in. Maybe they didn't have a patriarchal figure in their life, like a father figure or something of that nature. That for me was not the case. I grew up in a very nuclear family. I
Yeah.
had my mom, I had my dad.
No psychological issues in other
No
words.
psychological issues.
Yeah.
I had a very good relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
Somewhat to the point where a lot of people think that, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, especially for a Black Caribbean person, you had that kind of relationship. My dad was the kind of dad where, until like I was well into my teens, he was the type that he will open doors for me and my mom when we're going into the car. He allowed me to dress any way that I wanted to dress. He
gave you a lot of freedom.
He gave me a lot of freedom.
But he was an authority figure in your life.
He was an authority figure, of course.
Yeah.
My dad never, ever had like beaten me. He would give me the freedom to be, argumentative. Like, you'd be like, don't back chat me, child. Bap, bap. No, he would be like, okay, so you have an opinion. Why do you have this opinion? Like, how does this affect you?
So your early experience in your family was the mature person was someone who nurtured you, who encouraged you, who was open, who didn't come down on you, who didn't criticize you for being gay, and he probably knew you were gay.
Right. And so to that effect, I think I just gravitate, and maybe it's an only child thing too. I'll probably throw that out there. Maybe it is. But for me, I think the reason I end up gravitating towards older men, it's because it's what I know. Not in terms of sexually, but in terms of psychologically, emotionally, and whatever we would values, whatever we would talk about. When it comes on to music, I grew up with old school jazz as an example, and so if
Memphis, here we come.
If I'm speaking,
well, just to pick up on that, I don't know when I sort of realized I was attracted to younger guys. I've always been attracted, even when I was younger, I was attracted to people my own age. I was not attracted to older men.
Well, let's talk about that, because I know I've explained that, for me, it really is more so, I speak to older men because we can talk about things that I find relatable, that I can't necessarily do with someone my own particular age. And again, maybe that's because I'm an old soul, or maybe it's an only child that's raised by older people.
Maybe it's because you have a variety of interests and you have a conscious desire to learn and explore that a lot of younger people have not developed yet.
But that's a whole other conversation.
Okay.
But
we'll save that for another one.
We'll save that for another one. Because I can easily refute that or give a dynamic outlook to that particular statement. But why and when did you notice that you were attracted to younger men?
When I started getting older. I don't have any other answer for that.
What about guys your age?
Today?
Yes. Today, not tomorrow.
I don't like old guys. Most of the time.
So are you considering yourself old?
I don't feel old.
Okay, but maybe there are guys out there that are like you who take care of themselves. They go to the gym frequently. They're mentally stable. They're physically stable.
Hey, they're great as friends. Super. I'm just not emotionally attracted to them or physically attracted to them.
Even the fit ones that are like you?
It's not the fitness that does it. It's the...
Please.
It's the energy of youth.
Okay. The energy of youth.
Hmm.
Can you expound on that? How would you define the energy of youth?
Boy, that's a good question, Alex. I think that it's the adventure, the sense of adventure of life yet ahead. The things to explore, the things to be learned, the things that I'm enjoying right now that are really fun. I like that. I had that at one time.
I can see that. I can see that. I can understand that because from my perspective, I live vicariously through older people. But I don't know if it's like any good Scorpio. I do that because I don't want to, I don't feel like, especially in this day and age, for millennials, I don't feel like I can afford to make mistakes.
Hmm.
So when I look to, and not just like people I'm romantically involved with, but anyone in general, mentors, my boss, just the lady in the grocery store who's just like talking to me because she see me buying multiple dozens of eggs. It's just like, what can I gain from you vicariously so that I don't have to make mistakes of my own in the future? But
Well,
I don't know if that is an energy thing, as like what you're saying. But the reason I say vicariously, it's because I imagine that energy wise, and you can correct me if I'm wrong when I say the statement, is as an example, we spoke like offline, like off this podcast about traveling together as an example. Um, for me, it would be, oh my gosh, the wonder, the amazement. For you, would be like, oh, I've been here maybe 2, 3, 4 times already.
I don't want to go to any place I've already been. I've already told you that.
And there we go. And there we go. But what if it's a place that you like visiting, that you usually visit frequently? Like, I don't know, like Paris.
Yes, isn't that
Oh,
funny?
see, we
both
just
mentioned
said at the
Paris.
same time.
Yes, I would go to Paris another time, yes.
Yeah, what if it's like a place like that? And I am going for the first time as an adult, but you've been here multiple, here, there.
And you know what? I would enjoy that because I would enjoy the energy that comes from a young person, yourself, enjoying a city and probably seeing things that I hadn't seen in previous times that I'd been there.
You're right.
So I think what attracts me to younger people is the energy of wanting to learn about the world. And I remember being out of work.
Learn about
back-
the world or to stay updated with the changes of the world.
Well, whatever, they're both the same thing. Because to be updated, you have to learn. And I remember being out of work years ago and reading a book about life mission. And everybody has a life mission. And I was challenged to define my life mission. And I realized it's to help younger people learn and grow. And that's kind of what the root of my attraction to younger people is. I love that. I love to see them learn. I'm attracted to them physically. I'm attracted to them emotionally and sexually, and also in terms of just watching them grow and develop and become more mature and more understanding kind of citizens. Does that make sense?
It does, but then my question to you is, what happens after they become what you like watching them become? What happens when when the younger person does become more mature? What happens when they evolve into being?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, but
Does it mean I stop being attracted to them?
Yes.
Not really. Although that's a good question. I haven't thought. Maybe I haven't seen.
Have you
enough
gotten there yet?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe I haven't. But you know what? Not true. I can think of some younger people that are doing. You know, my ex was 20 years younger than me.
Okay.
And I've seen him grow and develop and change. And I'm thinking, you know what?
Are we talking about D? Just
Yes,
for
we
reference?
are. Yes,
okay,
we are.
Okay,
And I'm
okay.
thinking, you know what? That's great. I like that. Good for him. No longer attracted to him because he's getting closer to my age. But that's fine.
Shady. Go on.
Well, sorry, folks. You know, we do have our preferences, and they don't tend to change. That's the funny thing.
Well, you know, I like to think of my preference to be something that, I don't know. I don't know, because in one hand, I want the person that I'm with long term to be someone that I can grow with.
Yes.
And do not believe for a second that it has not crossed my mind that if I do end up being in a relationship with someone that I find more attractive, and I don't necessarily find someone attractive based on their physical appearance. I find them attractive based on how they make me feel inside.
Yes.
And it just typically ends up, I have dated people my age, aka R, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. And we all know how that ended. And I compare that to me with older guys that I've dated, where it's ended amicably, where we're still friends to this day.
Yeah. And you want that.
And I want that because I would, life should be peaceful. And like this is it, on the other hand, yeah, one hand is I want to be in a relationship with somebody that I can grow old with, if I even am so lucky. But then on the other hand, I want to be in a relationship with someone who stimulates me and makes me feel great, who challenges me, who makes me think, who
and
can,
an older person is going to do that.
And an older person is going to do that.
Yes,
but
exactly.
then time, the relativity of time, right?
I think what attracts...
There's a strong possibility that that person may pass. Granted, we both live long, healthy lives. There's a chance that that person may pass before I do, and if that person passes before I do, then what?
Well, life goes on. But...
And maybe that's a podcast for another time.
Well,
30 years in the future.
What I like to see in a younger person is that desire to grow and learn, that enthusiasm and that maturity to recognize that there is something they can learn from an older person, from a relationship with an older person. And the mature person, the older person who likes a younger person, in my case at least, I like a mature younger person, a mature younger person that understands the importance of life that a lot of their peers don't get yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And for me, when I think about the older individuals in my life, especially the ones that I'm romantically attracted to, and like I said, daddy and son, and listeners, dear listeners, this is not necessarily have daddy and son. We're not talking about it from a romantic perspective. We're just talking about the relationship that you have with an older person that could be a daddy, and a younger person that is a son. From a very, very, very queer perspective, in case you haven't picked up, yeah, this is an LGBTQ podcast. I do prefer being in the company of older folks, again, just because of what is relatable to me. It's what I know, it's what stimulates me, and I think I can just end at the word stimulation.
And I can tell you that when I'm in the presence of somebody like yourself, Alex, I don't even think of the age difference. It's just not something that registers with me.
That part. Not thinking about the age difference.
And why is that? Because we're on the same level in terms of emotion and intellectual interest and kind of energy. There's a vibe that's there. There's just something that brings us together, that we feel part of each other. That's something we both want. And the idea of age and it's not even relevant. Does that make sense?
Well, unless you're getting into bed with you, but unless they're getting into bed for you.
Well, that may happen.
But I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Any final words?
Well, I would just say to those who are listening that we want this podcast to be for those who are looking to understand the dynamics of an older, younger attraction in a gay relationship, what makes it work, why you're there.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. And what is it that you can learn from one? And what is it that we can share with you from our experience that will help you understand the importance of the person that you're attracted to or think you're attracted to, and how you can bring that knowledge to make it a good and beneficial relationship for both of you.
Absolutely. Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of Daddy and Son. Thank you for joining us. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again next week. Bye.